So I understand that you're also the founder of the Rocket City Space Pioneers?
Yeah, that's right.
What can you tell me about that? How far along are you in the development?
That's a good question. Well, I am the team leader of the Rocket City Space Pioneers. A guy named Mike Graves is the chief engineer back at Dynetics. The whole premise of the Rocket City Space Pioneers team was the fact is that you don't why go to the moon if there's not a business case. So we sat down and really generated a business case of how could you afford to go to the moon and how could you sustain it. Now you remember at the time we formed Rocket City Space Pioneers, the Ares program hadn't been totally canceled. Things were in flux, so it looked like we were definitely going back to the moon. And clearly there would be a lot of research that would precede going to the moon if we returned to the moon. And there was things like ILN that would have preceded it, and there would be other things too. So the fact is we would have a nice little platform with our lander and rover to do some cool stuff. So we believe that would have helped provide some contract opportunities down the road. But the fact is, the way we financed building the systems to get us to the moon we decided that it looked like if we did a rideshare program using Falcon 9, and we have mature systems that were built like an ESPA ring, allows you to lock in secondary payloads on top of, say, a Falcon 9 or a Minotaur. What that does is allows multiple riders to ride on one system. Well, what we concluded through our analysis was that it could save maybe 50% over a dedicated mission. So we looked at that. We said, well, if we could sell X number of rides to GTO on this ring, this ESPA ring, which is built by Moog or CSA, and then if we could stack another one on there with the propulsion system, which would be built by Pratt & Whitney, which they already have the propulsion system. It's built for DAC, the DAC system, Diverter Attitude Control Systems for missile defense. That would be the Earth departure stage, so that'd get us over to the moon and do the braking maneuver. Then what we could do is drop off 3 payloads. So all of that would pay for our lander and also would finance the rover. And even if we crashed our lander and the rover into the moon, we would still break even. So we didn't see it as a big risk to do the Google Prize, the Moon Google Prize. So we decided that we had to have a good business case. Now, of course, here's the other side of it. There has to be a customer. All right, now the customer generally for going to the moon obviously would be the science community, and obviously NASA plays a key role in that. Well, if you notice, we're in a big economic turn down right now, and a lot of the budgets with continued resolution and a lot of the funding mechanisms and whatnot have all been moved to the right. Things are just not going well. So we're seeing a trickle-down effect. So we've done a lot of quoting for rideshare, but the fact is we haven't had that hard sell that we were hoping for. I think part of it is the fact that we're not going to the moon as a nation now. It's more technology demonstrators and maybe an asteroid. So things are changing since we've got into this, but it was, and do we want to win the prize? Absolutely, but we're not going to waste the company's resources to just go do a stunt. I had to go to our president CEO and make sure this makes sense on paper. So we said, well, if we can sell this, then we're going to develop this and this and this. But in the meantime, here's the development program we want to do in order to mitigate risks. And part of that was too the ILDD engine development work, sharing the data with NASA, the peroxide kerosene engine that's over at our booth. Actually, we brought it here. And that would be an engine that's green, storable propellant to land us on the moon. Those engines don't exist. We need a deep throttling engine to land on the moon. And we've been developing rovers. We've got 3 rovers under development right now. So we've got a lander, engineering development lander being built full scale right now. So these are things, some of this stuff we'll roll out at the first of the year. So that's kind of what's going on. But if we don't sell rides, we're not going to the moon. We're not going to GTO. We're not going we're not going anywhere. But because there's not a business case for it. But but we're not a stunt company either. We do have a bottom line that I have to meet.
Now, with the Google Lunar X PRIZE, probably the most visible teams have been Astrobotic and Moon Express. And earlier this year, Google put out a set of requirements about how they wanted the teams to have more media coverage of what they're up to, even if it's just behind the scenes manufacturing or brainstorming. What have you been doing to try to meet those requirements?
Well, there are some very stringent requirements, and they're very strict about complying with them. In fact, you'll get emails that, we got an email the other day that says, we don't feel like the requirement was met. Well, the fact is it was, and there was a recording error, which happens like in accounting or anywhere, and they said, okay, well, yeah, you're right, that's good. Fact is, they are very much, there is a requirement. There was a requirement from Google to the X Prize Foundation. And social media is a big part of this, promotion of getting people excited. I think, if anything, Google, I don't know that this is of a strategic interest to Google because they need a system to go on the moon more than it is Google wants to get people excited about space. I think their leadership is a space enthusiast. He's making an investment, and that was pretty clear when Tiffany Montag spoke about it, who leads their space division, or Google Space. So we don't have any problems with it. It's different for Dynetics because we've been a DoD company, and social media. We've never tweeted. We don't have our own YouTube channel. We didn't have Facebook. And these are all things that have posed interesting scenarios within our company because we have a lot of firewalls and things that protect our interests and for obvious reasons. So, a lot of the master teaming agreement issues were around media, but they were also around, there was some IP related language there that really made it difficult for teams to go out and raise private investment because it seemed as if there would be a shared IP interest there, i.e. Google and and the X Prize, and it was never. So we got some clarification on that, and so those are the things that make it hard to raise money for things like this if you have too many constraints.